Spartan Nation, what's going on? This is Ken, the super cool Spartan here. We got Quaffo, the super connected slash super hyped up super slash funny Spartan right now.
I'm
I
back.
wish y'all could see what we was talking about behind the scenes here. That's why we're coming in all hot and funny and laughing.
Maybe one day.
Got brother Brian here, the super mad Spartan. And if I could have recorded what he looked like when we watched Oregon versus Michigan State, ooh, boy, there'd be a lot of bleeps and all kinds of stuff because he was super hot this past Friday night.
You know, I'm passionate about my team.
As you should be.
Yes, yes. But you were really passionate as far as looking like Christopher Mad Dog Russo and Skip Bayless watching the Spartans take another loss, our third loss in a row against those Fighting Ducks of Oregon. Yeah, it was a brutal watch, to be honest. It was a brutal
Just say it,
watch.
Ken. Let's get to the initial thoughts. Let's just go.
Yeah, let's just get right to it, gentlemen. And like I said, good to have our connected Spartan back here, Mr. Quaffle back in the building. Right. So, yeah, let's get right to it. I'll just kick it off and say my initial thoughts. I think this is the first game that we look like we did not belong on the field. I mean, just about from start to finish, we just looked like we did not belong on the same field as Oregon. It was pretty much a football massacre. I mean, the score didn't indicate that, but you know, that's all I can say. Just we didn't belong Friday night.
A lot worse on the scoreboard.
Yes,
could have been worse.
It could have been worse. Yeah. So I'll kick it to you, Mr. Super Connected Spartan, since you're back in the building. What's your initial thoughts?
Yeah, that was a tough watch. I'm not gonna lie. 31-0. You know, would it be in 12 o'clock here on the East Coast? Out 30 when that 31, and it really could have been when you think about the game and those turnovers. The defense was able to execute on those two red zone possessions. You're talking, what is that, another 14? So
yes.
That's 45. I mean, it could have got really bad, and it's just we're a ways away. We'll get into it a little bit when we get into the word on the street, but just our two deep, let's say, is competitive with most teams. We're not at Oregon's level, and that's okay. I mean, they're national championship level. They're gonna have a stiff test this Saturday against OSU. That'll be a fun one to watch since we're off this week. But we don't have enough horses up front, especially. That's really, to me, our back end was able on defense to keep us in the first part of it. Obviously we have playmakers at wide receiver. We've seen that all year. They weren't able to get free. Childs actually was not so bad this time. I mean, he had the early fumble, but other than that, I mean, he was a relatively clean game. Just up front in the trenches where you win. I mean, coaches say it all the time, where you win and lose football games. We don't have the manpower. No offense to anybody. Everybody knows I love these kids or whatever, but we just don't have man for man, pound for pound, what a team like Oregon or Bama or Georgia has up front. And that's going to be a couple recruiting cycles to even make that game, respectable. And it starts up front. We just don't have enough of those horses.
And what say you, Mr. Super Duper Mad Spartan?
Super duper mad. Wow.
Yes.
I have to piggyback off Quaffo, the lines. That was the most apparent thing in the game. Offensive line couldn't protect Childs. This is the worst the offensive line looked this year. It was prohibitive. The team couldn't do anything on offense because the line could not block running or passing. And the defensive line, this is the first time they've given up, well, I guess Ohio State kind of gashed it too, but it didn't look as bad as Ohio State. It's just a whole different feeling. I thought with Ohio State we came out, maybe because we were at home and that was the game plan, and Ohio State's one of their first road games, and they weren't ramped up the speed, but we looked more competitive versus Ohio State than we did versus Oregon.
Agreed.
Most
And,
definitely.
The
Right.
lines, that running back for Oregon basically had over like 150 at halftime. It was
It might have
Yeah.
been
it was
in the
insane.
first quarter. It was like somewhere in like the early part of the second quarter. He had 150.
Yes,
Is he going to get 200 before halftime? I mean, it was nuts.
they called the dogs up for us early. This thing was like after they scored in the third quarter. All right, put the backups in, and then we started getting some traction. We scored our points, and we got some garbage time stuff. But to be clear, we had nothing.
Nothing.
And
Nothing for him.
kudos to Oregon. Now I made the joke about they've taken like 18 defensive linemen. They took our best one, and he made heck of the plays against us. Can't fault him for going out to Oregon, getting paid, and playing on a team that definitely is going to be in the conversation for a national championship.
Yep. For sure.
Oh yeah, they were definitely in it last year. If it wasn't for Washington, so I think Oregon lost to Washington twice last year.
They did. Yep.
Yeah, they were right there. They were knocking on that door. So they're definitely, they're taking that smoke this year for sure, and they smoked us. So
they are built like a Big Ten team. They're big up front, offensive, defensive line. Like man, I hadn't really paid attention because I know we did a show a few weeks back saying that this stretch didn't look so scary because we were kind of feeling ourselves a little bit. Yeah, now we're wounded animals. Like, well, it's the first two ones are over. Now we have stuff to look forward to of teams I feel like we should look better against.
Correct.
Agreed.
And the one thing I'll add, just you guys don't know this because our first year doing this together. I kind of have a type in offensive lineman and defensive lineman. It's like a thing for me. Like I got a type. It's usually big offensive linemen, usually from the islands, Samoa, Hawaii, 300, 320 plus, just picking up dudes and moving them. I'm a big dude. I'm like 280 something. Like they would just pick me up and move me like a little kid. That's my type. Like on the offensive line. Like think about Penei Sewell. That's my type. That type of offensive defensive lineman, nasty, mean aggression. Them dudes, like everybody that knows me knows that's what I love in offensive linemen is those dudes. And Oregon had that center, the guy that moved over to center, night time. These are night. Couple of those, like just one or two of those guys makes it such a game-changing difference. And so, that's like in some of the forums that I'm on, like with the Spartan, shout out to Ron Underwood and the stuff that he does. Kind of gives us a platform as well with those guys over there, the Spartan News and Recruiting. But they know in that forum, in that chat room, I'm like always, anytime I see we're recruiting those dudes, go get them, go get that kid because they change the game for you. Just mean, physical, aggressive, love it as offensive linemen.
Right. As my father-in-law calls them, big uglies.
Yes.
That's what he refers to them as.
I would never say that to their face. That would be no. Because
I wouldn't do it. I would not do that either.
Lift all three of us at once and just
right. We would get nighted.
Yes.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Great.
So let's get into it, gents. Our good Sparty, bad Sparty. We'll just start with the bad because there's a lot of bad, not that much good.
A lot of bad.
So, I'll just start, the one thing that continues to plague us this season, turnovers. Childs, he made an awesome throw down the field to Nick Marsh, got us in the red zone. And next play, fumble. Recovered by Oregon. Now, I will say that when that happened, I was looking like super mad Spartan because I was like, dude, what are we doing here? Why is this reoccurring theme about you fumbling the ball in the red zone? It was that was just
turnovers.
Yeah, that was just brutal. That was brutal. So
you want to put us up 7-0. I'm not saying we win the game, but we come out swinging. We look respectable,
right?
And that's 'Cause, right, if you think about that possession, that's the defense gets a turnover that first possession. Then Oregon's marching down the field,
Mm-hmm.
and then the defense
Malik
that's
Spencer,
the
I think he
interception.
gets that. Yeah, I think Malik Spencer gets that interception in the end zone.
Yes, the one he made up for last week when he dropped the easy one versus Ohio State.
Right.
Makes a great play on zone defense, comes off his guy, comes across his body, and makes the interception. And then the offense gives us a little bit of hope marching down the field. And then the same thing's been happening every game this year. Red zone turnover. It's killer.
Yeah. What say you, Mr. Super Connected Spartan? What's a bad Sparty for you to add to this this
And
this pile of heap?
There's a ton of bad Sparty, right? And I think the people in the building know that. I mean, it's just it's hard to find silver linings. I mean, I'll get to it in a second when we get to good Sparty, but yeah, the bad side just, you know, the early turnover, again, doesn't necessarily dictate winning or losing, but changes the complexion of the game, puts maybe Oregon on their heels. So if you score that touchdown, you still get those 2 turnovers in red zone. Oh, well, now I got to think about stuff. Now I got to call the game differently. Now I'm not in the driver's seat, but having that turnover and then them scoring and just, yeah, there's a lot of poorly executed stuff up front, which is really where the game was lost. And the fact that, like we were talking about, the defensive line is getting stood up, moved out of the way, creating huge lanes for James to run in. It's just, he hadn't run like that all year, and he's a good player, but we made him look like an NFL first day pick.
Right.
That's
for
just,
sure.
That's just, and again, they'll be doing film study. That's what they're doing during the bye week. They're doing some self study, but that was just, there's nothing positive. I mean, it was cool in national TV audience, but again, on national TV, not really coming up to the plate is not great when you think about the long-term prospect. You want to show out in these prime time spots like that, at least have a representative effort. And I don't feel like there's the first time all season I didn't feel like it was a full representative effort. Maybe it's the travel log. Maybe, that's a long flight from East Lansing to PDX, as they call it out there, getting them to Portland. Or they probably actually flew directly to Eugene and not stopping in Portland and busting over. But either way, it's a long travel. I mean, the travel trailer left on Monday to get there Friday. Like, it's a tough trip with this new Big Ten. And, guys just did not play as well as I think they could have played for the full length of the game.
Yeah, we have to. It's going to be weird because there's some good things that did happen on the defense. We have to talk about the bad, like you said. You talk about the line already, lines, who are the offense, defense line. I want to talk about the linebackers because part of the issue that we saw with the game is that even when the defensive line stood up, the offensive line at least got a stalemate. Our linebackers weren't making plays. Too many missed tackles. Too many guys bouncing off form tackles. And it's just, if you get a chance, look at the PFF grades and look at yourself, and you can see what we're talking about. Because I was watching the game, it's kicking the test. Like, okay, missed tackle, bad angle, it's a continuous thing. And then when I saw the PFF numbers, okay, my eyes weren't deceiving me. The linebacker position was not up to par.
Yeah,
and it's become a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know we normally run. I know they talk about the defense. It normally runs like a 4-2-5. We had to run the 4-3 because couldn't stop the run, so you had to have an extra linebacker out there. And so in the second half, Dylan Gabriel gets comfortable, and just the abuse gets worse. Because the first half, the DBs, I think they did what they're supposed to do. Dylan Gabriel didn't have his stats at the end looked fantastic, but for the first two and a half quarters,
yep. Mm-hmm.
he was him and Childs were his Childs was having better numbers than Dylan Gabriel up until the end of the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then Childs didn't have a great game, and it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't great at all. And this piggybacking what you guys said, the game basically was just lost in the trenches. Quaff, you were talking about before we started recording that, football games are won and lost in the trenches, the O-line and D-line. And, our O-line couldn't block worth anything. Aiden, for the most part, spent most of the game running for his life. And on the D-lines, like you said, they was getting moved by like mountains, allowing the running back from Oregon, he was looking like Marshall Falk back there, just ripping and running and slashing and cutting and scoring. And it was demoralizing.
Full head of steam, and he was just running
demoralizing.
people over.
Yeah. It was, like I said, it was a brutal watch, a very brutal watch. And, this, like I was saying in the initial thoughts, well, yeah, we did beat the spread. We did beat the spread, unlike against Ohio State. But yeah, that was the first time we looked like we just did not look like we belonged on the field Friday night.
No,
it was very brutal.
You want to hit him with a good party? You want to hit him with a good? I got a couple.
Yeah, let's go with the good. I mean, we mentioned it. The 2 picks in the red zone that our defense had on Gabriel. Especially that first pick, because that first pick that Malik Spencer had, that pretty much took away from the pain of that fumble that Aiden had, prior to. So shout out to Malik Spencer, and shout out to Chuck Brantley.
Chuck Brantley, a name mentioned every week on the show now.
Yeah,
making plays.
Yeah, he's looking like he wants to play on Sundays, because he's been definitely one of the shining lights on the defense.
Yeah,
basically all season.
Those are the 2 guys, man. Those 2 guys, Ken and Brian, those are my guys in the defensive backfield. I know Justin Dennis a little bit. Those 2 guys, Malik and Chuck, a special place. I know them well. I'm happy for their success. I showed you guys. I talked to Malik before the game. I said, you're going to get interception and you're going to get a sack. And then, like, he just got back to me. I think they're, out of meetings today. They don't have as many meetings this week. And he said, well, why not both? I was like, yeah, you did both, bro. Why not both?
Yeah.
Told you what you was going to do. So I kind of helped him. I feel like I helped him manifest that one a little bit. I didn't.
That's why you're the connected Spartan.
Yeah, man. Them boys, and especially if people know, and maybe we'll try to get both of them at the end of the season when they're kind of
most definitely for sure.
But like with Chuck, if people knew his backstory, man, they would be even bigger fans of Chuck Brantley. That kid has overcome a lot of stuff. Great player. He could have, he was in the portal, out of the portal, but that's just, he's overcome a lot of stuff. So I shout out to both those guys making plays again in the secondary as usual. That was just par for the course, expected. And now that we're coming up on part of the season that is not so formidable like we thought it was, you still got Indiana schedule, obviously Iowa and Michigan, but these are games that MSU, especially if they do what they need to do this week where they're studying, they can win these games. Like at the beginning of the season, it's like, I don't know. They can actually win these games. Like Rutgers, I'm not worried about them. Indiana's tough. Iowa and Michigan, but there's some winnable. They can get on a little bit of roll. It can go 1 of 2 ways here, especially coming off this bye. We get into homecoming next week. But yeah, good Sparty. That defensive backfield is pretty good because Oregon has some NFL receivers, and for the first half, like we said, first 2.5 quarters, our guys were holding up back there. But there's only so much you can do when you're just getting peppered back there, and they're running routes underneath you. People in front of you aren't stopping. I mean, it's a team sport, but there's only so much you can do.
We talked about the linebackers.
Yeah,
like and there was the kid from Oregon. Was it Tez?
You got oh my gosh, you got Evan Stewart. You got Tez Johnson, and you got
Tez Johnson. That's the guy that's second half really, really hurt us underneath routes versus linebackers.
And Holden, Trayshawn Holden. I was trying to think of the other receivers.
Yeah, the DBs.
Those 3 are ridiculous. They're all NFL receivers. And the DBs, yeah, like I said, DBs didn't feel like they were overmatched. Like they were just you gotta 60, 70 snaps. You gotta it's hard to be on top of your game all 60, 70 snaps against a team like that.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, just one more shout out to Malik because we're talking about PFF. His grade was 82.2, so that's outstanding as a DB.
Yes.
The highest of his career at Michigan State. So shout out to Buford, Georgia. If you're watching in Buford, Georgia, shout out. Your boy did his thing in the 82 grade. Yeah.
Spencer was looked at. I know they said, that was the beginning of the year, like, who would inspire to go to NFL? And they said, well, Spencer had like a 3rd round grade. I was like, what? I know he had a lot of hype coming in. They haven't really seen it on the field per se, but now he's starting to make those splash plays where you can see why he's kind of a highly regarded guy, a prospect for NFL.
For sure, for sure.
Oh yeah.
But a humble kid. Let's put on the record. He doesn't act like a 3rd round, 2nd round pick. He's a humble kid, man. He's a humble kid.
Yeah. Yeah, in the offseason, Mr. Super Connected Sport, you got to holler at him and Chuck Brantley.
Get
them boys on the show.
Get them both together on the show, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. So what other goodness, if any, that you want to point out?
Everyone made their own
MSU.
Everybody made it back safe from Eugene, so yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
good
kind
story.
of,
Yeah.
Man, you gotta watch the tape, but it's great.
I know the broadcast kind of harped on it, which is kind of annoying. Is that Michigan State's the super penalized team? Like, well, there are way fewer penalties in this game than we were getting at the beginning that we were getting at the beginning of the year. Excuse me.
Right.
They've cut down on penalties. Now this game, they had more penalties they had in the last previous 2, which is a concern. But I didn't think they were of the personal foul, knucklehead variety.
Yeah, roughing the passer and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll say that from the penalty standpoint, looks like they have cut down on those. And one other thing I'll point out to as a good Sparty was Nick Saban, because we were watching a College Game Day Saturday morning.
After we took our big L.
Right, after you took our big L. But, our question is about I'm going to say Nick Childs, Aiden Childs. I think the question, what was his ceiling at MSU? And Nick Saban had a lot of positive things to say about Aiden overall. He just said, like our young quarterback's going to cut down on the negative plays and turnovers. But he says that Aiden has a very high and bright ceiling, and overall he likes him. So even though that, because there were some articles that came out that, some of the doomsdayers, as you call them, Brian, talking about, we need to bench Aiden. He should be benched.
People are fed up with losing. That's what it really is. And I would implore those people to go watch quarterback play across college football and then think about what you have with Aiden Childs. I know we've been critical of him on here. He's been critical of himself. It's very simple. Everybody knows he has to stop turning the ball over. It's just that simple.
Right.
If he doesn't turn the ball over, you can see the potential. You can see, you can see how he's matured from game 1 to this game. Now I'm not saying Oregon game was a masterpiece, but there were some bad throws. Of course, every keeper's going to have some bad throws, but there weren't those crazy egregious like, okay, sir, Aiden, what are you doing? What was that pass? Why are we doing that? So his decision making has improved. It's just that he had that fumble. And again, because the offensive line cannot run block, everything on the offense falls on Aiden Childs, and he has to literally carry a team. And that's tough for any QB to do.
Right.
Right, especially a young one.
He's
so people are expecting him to be perfect.
Yeah,
right.
And that's and to beat Oregon, Ohio State, and some of these top 10 teams, whereas they weren't for top 10 teams, you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to run and pass. You have to keep people off balance. Yeah. And when your whole game is predicated on just having to have your QB do the lifting for the whole entire offense, it's just not going to work too often.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, he's 19 years old. Like, right? Like, it's a roller coaster. And what you said, Brian, is spot on. 75, 80% of the country, maybe 85% of the country would trade whoever their starting quarterback is now for Aiden Childs. Rest assured. I would say there's only 10% of the teams in Division I football that are settled with their quarterback that wouldn't take what Aiden Childs has the potential to do upside. Does he have to cut down turnovers? Yes, he knows that. The building knows that. The offense knows that. But I like what I see Coach Smith. Coach Smith is not screaming at him, yelling at him. He's like, look, this is very matter of fact. Coach Smith played the position very, very well at Oregon State. He knows how to deal with him. He's a quarterback whisperer. It'll be fine. He just has to cut down on turnovers. And to your point, Ken, about Nick Saban, little secret here, Nick Saban still loves MSU. Like, he still loves MSU, like, in a major way.
Oh, yeah.
So he's always going to look for the positive. I think I saw on game day, I saw that piece, but I saw when he was talking about how he changed as a coach. Not that we're going to get on Nick Saban has all the love he needs, but when he talked about where he changed they're talking about the Ohio State game, if you guys remember in 98.
Yeah, when he beat, when they were number one.
Great insight where he went from a developer, like transactional to an actual, transformational. I was like,
right,
I'm going to use that like in business. Like, you don't want to be transactional, you want to be transformational. And he talked about that change in him leading into that game and during that season. And that's what and then they did the whole thing about his record before that. And then after that, I was like, oh, well, okay. Because who was he getting on about that? It was Florida State. He was mad at Florida State. It was really good stuff right here what I'm watching. So, I enjoy next day. We got to get to the league course, though. No, shout out. You've been great for the sport, but Lee, go sit down, bro. Go sit down, Lee.
Yeah. They should have been put in the They should have been put in the pasture.
Yeah, come on, Lee. Go sit down now.
And another point I'll make talking about quarterbacks, that team down the road, they're doing, I told Brian this on Saturday. When you go to the
QB
right,
shuffle.
yeah, when you go to the right, you go to Spartan Stadium, you played that Spartan helmet game. I mean,
helmet shuffle.
So for all the doomsdayers, just look at that team down the road and see what they're doing as far as their quarterback position.
Can't even leaving those guys out of there. Go look at last year. I want everybody just to go watch a random game from last year from our 3 quarterbacks that played, and tell me you should be happy that we have someone of Aiden Childs' talent on this team.
Right.
If Aiden Childs wasn't good, they wouldn't be talking about him on game day for lowly Michigan State right now. We're not that brand to be like, oh, we're up and coming. We never had. We're not blue bloods in college football, so we don't have to talk about Michigan State.
Right,
We're a team that's
right.
Hey, we have historically been around, but we have never been consistent. For them to bring us up on game day, to have a section about our quarterback, lets you know that people are watching him. They'll have an eye out for him. And if the fan base wants to get all toxic and stupid, okay, what will this team look like without Aiden Childs on it? Just ask yourself that.
Right.
We already have 2 wins.
Right. So for all those doomsdayers, you don't want that. We just went through that last year. Like I said, when you was watching, going to the Spartan Stadium, you see those helmet shuffle games. We was doing that last year. So, we don't want to bitch Aiden. Like we're saying, he's got his ups and downs, but if Nick Saban is like, yo, this kid got something, you got to believe it.
Trust Nick Saban in football.
Right.
Not about other stuff, but trust him in football. For sure.
Right, for sure. So let's transition to Mr. Quaffle, Connected Spartan, word on the street. Another quick thing I'll say, a good Sparty is the bye week, because I think it's very much needed right now. So.
Injuries mounting up. The team needs to take a deep breath.
Yep. There's a whole
Right.
half a season left. There's a whole half a season left. So,
Right.
um,
So what's the
yeah,
word in
no,
the street, Mr.
yeah.
Connected Spartan?
Got a chance to talk to some of those guys. I mentioned talking to Malik today. Talking to other people around. I mean, just everyone is no panic, which is perfect. You don't want to hear panic. Spending this week, I was like, hey, people taking trips. No. Are people going home? Some players will probably go home for a little bit, like a day or two here, to just kind of recharge their batteries. But the majority of the time is being spent. And I think Coach Smith alluded to this in his press conference. There's enough tape now. You talk about Aiden, but just even more so than Aiden, the whole team. There's a half a season of tape now to really self-evaluate, really have an honest assessment of where they at, where the strengths are, what they need to do in the second half of the season. So a lot of film study this week, limited practice, try to get the bodies right. Like I said, some guys will maybe go home, stay out of trouble, young fellas going home, stay out of
Yeah.
trouble.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but yeah, no sense of panic. Definitely some opportunities for them going forward, and especially if they just play clean football the remainder of the way, they're going to be in all these remaining games they have on their schedule. Clean football, which is what they're looking at. Executing in the run game, trying to figure out a way to get that blocked up a little better, trying to get some more explosive plays downfield. That's not really a huge problem, right? They're able to do that with some regularity, getting the receivers open. One thing I'd like them to, and I haven't heard this, but I'd imagine they're probably going back and looking. You grabbed Jack Veiling, you brought him here with you from Oregon State. He had All-American caliber at that position. We just haven't seen him being used in that same way he was at Oregon State. So I'd like to get him unleashed here in the second half. Jack Veiling at the tight end position. We've already talked about receivers enough. And there's just having some semblance of a blocking up front in the run game, because it's not all, we were joking about Nate Carter early in the season a little bit, a little slower. Lynch Adams talked about it. A lot of it is due to the blocking. So, like, the guys are just up front, just not creating the holes that you need to run through. So no panic, a lot of film study, recharge for coaches, recharge for players. It's going to be a night game we talked about, for homecoming. So it's going to be exciting. I think the second half we'll have a lot to talk about on here. And then, as you said, just try to work with getting some of these folks. I don't try to mess with them during the season. They got to focus. I know some shows go and grab them, whatever. But every time you have to think about this, we could be selfish, and I could really just be texting away and trying to, what can we get? But at the end of the day, we want success for Spartan football.
Right.
And we need these guys focused on the mission at hand every week. And so unless it's something, the media availabilities, which we could all probably go over to and do that. Unless it's media availability, I don't like to mess with these guys and that, have them come on our show and stuff like that. There'll be time for that, Spartan Nation. Just hang with us, Spartan Nation. There'll be time. You'll see some of these guys that you guys watch on Saturday here on Q the Woodshed. But word on the street is stay the course, professional staff. That was a whooping though. They readily, there was no sugarcoat, dude. They're talking about that whole thing about moving. It's like we're just getting moved. So I was like, yeah. So they understand what's.
I was gonna say, before I forget, Q the Woodshed, powered by ZILLA Sports Network. Powered by ZSN. ZSN. Yes.
Sure.
So, all right, gentlemen, it's time to stump you guys once again with the good old MSU Fun football fact. This time, this question is going to be a multiple choice question. Make it a little easier for you guys.
Okay.
Make it a little easier for you guys here.
Are we taking SAT right now? What are we doing here? Multiple choice. What's going on? Okay.
Hey, I'm trying to make it easier for you guys. So far I'm undefeated here. With the fun football facts. But it's
last time I was on.
Oh yeah, you did. You guys got a half. Oh yeah, you got a half point.
Yeah.
You got a half point. All right, you did. So, all right. So, this week's football fact is, which MSU player has the most kickoff return yards in the program? Is it Derek Mason, Keyshawn Martin, or R.J. Shelton?
Oh,
Which MSU player has the most kickoff return yards for the MSU football program?
well, I would have said someone who's not even on here. I would have thought, where's Mel Coleman? Shouldn't Mel Coleman be on this list? In terms of return yards? I don't know.
Just kickoff returns.
Yes. Is it Derek Mason, Keyshawn Martin, or R.J. Shelton?
This feels like ChatGPT giving wrong answers to him. Because I feel like there's people on here. There should be other people on here. Okay, hold on, though. It's one of these three.
Career kick return yards. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
D Mace was nice. Brian, I'm going to go.
It's a good one because I'm thinking in my mind because I know for a fact R.J. Shelton has a kickoff return for a touchdown.
Mark or Shelton?
R.J. Shelton, a kickoff return for a touchdown, and he was the last person to do it probably before. If Keyshawn Martin has, Keyshawn Martin has punt returns.
Well, you just said kickoff returns.
Yes, most kickoff return yards. Yes.
I'll go with it. I would say Keyshawn Martin of the three, because it's in my head. It seems like he had more returns, but maybe go with Shelton. No. Let's go with Keyshawn Martin.
What say you, Super Mad Spartan?
See, I'm Derek Mason a little before my time, and I'm not gonna look up the stats.
He was good, man. He was nice. Shout out
returns. That's what throwing me off. I'm gonna go with Keyshawn Martin as well because no. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go with Derek Mason just because I don't know. Like R.J. Shelton is the most recent one because I know he has a kickoff return for a touchdown, but that was just one. And we're talking about return yardage total, so I'm gonna go with Mason.
And Brian, you are correct.
Oh, I saw him play. I saw D Mace play. That was a good question. So
yes,
finally.
Yes.
Okay.
So Derek Mason's number one. He's at 2,384 yards.
He was a bad boy.
Number two,
kickoff return.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a bad boy.
Just kickoff returns. That's crazy.
Yes.
He played 10, 12 years in the NFL. Like, he was a bad boy.
Yeah. 2,384 yards. Number two is R.J. Shelton.
Oh.
He had 1,855 yards. And Keyshawn Martin, of those three players, he's number three. But according to, good old Google, our Keyshawn Martin's like eighth on the list at 1,100 yards.
Okay.
Good job, Brian.
So,
I just was thinking about it in my mind. I'm pretty sure at Keyshawn Martin, it was the punt returns. We remember him getting a lot of different punt returns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I kept asking the question about the kick returns. Okay.
Yeah,
but the Super Mad Spartan on the scoreboard, Mr. Derek Mason. Shout out to D Mace.
I scored. It wasn't even garbage time.
Right. So, maybe one day we get Derek Mason on the show here as part of our Classic Spartan series. So, speaking of which, before we get off the podcast airwaves, I will say that next week we do have a bye week. So we'll probably do, a bye week episode just to give like a state of the Spartan football program. It's halftime right now.
Look towards the future.
To look towards the future here as we gear up for the second half of the season. And then also, too, we want to have another, speaking of this Classic Spartan series, we want to have a very special one this month. We're going to do it for the Michigan game. We're going to feature a couple of players from the MSU side, a couple players from the side. So that's going to be a very special classic Spartan series. 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down, but
We should have more heads.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a lot of exciting things coming up here for Cue the Woodshed, powered by ZILLA Sports Network here. We're going to have a lot of exciting things coming up, so everybody stay tuned. And we do have a new tagline. I forget to not mention our new tagline. Cue the Woodshed, powered by ZILLA Sports Network, by the fans, for the fans of MSU football. Yes, we're doing this for y'all. So once again, Cue the Woodshed, powered by ZILLA Sports Network. I'm Ken, the super cool Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. You get a chance to cool off next couple weeks. Mr. Quaffo, the super connected Spartan. Any last words for the peoples, gentlemen?
Everybody stay safe. Enjoy some football stress-free this week.
Yes.
To involve us.
Always fun to watch when it's not your team.
Right. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. All right. And we are out. Go green.
Go
white.
Go white.
Thank you.